the writing process of Seven Impale in general. I think it's a very long conversation between 6 of us.
Welcome to the Dreams of Consciousness podcast. If you'd be so kind, would you mind introducing yourselves?
I'm Fredrik, drummer in Seven Impale.
I'm Stian. I'm the singer and, main singer and guitarist of Seven Impale.
And I'm Benjamin, the saxophonist, and occasionally sometimes I sing.
And how would you guys describe the music of Seven Impale?
It's really eclectic, experimental blend of everything we like, from heavy music, old school and new, and jazz, and a lot of things that don't come to mind at the moment. Everything we listen to. So we make sort of blend of all of the different genres we're interested in. So it lands in the prog metal category, I guess, for most. For us, it's mostly about the experimental part.
And are you guys comfortable being referred to as a prog metal band?
Yeah, sure. Why not? I mean, I see where it comes from. Yeah, artists were compared to, like, we do the same things.
And I should point out, as far as prog metal goes, one of your members is actually an Enslaved.
Yeah, so the metal is strengthened. Also, the latest album is, at least at times, very heavy.
Yeah. Something we should mention, which people listening to this might find interesting. I mentioned one of your members is in Enslaved. You guys are based in Norway.
Yeah, we're all from Bergen.
On a podcast like this, when I say Norway, people people have certain expectations.
Yeah, in terms of different bands, like in the metal, extreme metal scene, you mean, or?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. No, of course, as you mentioned, Håkon, our keyboard player, is also the keyboard player, background singer in Enslaved since 2017. But for me, Stian, the singer and guitarist, I've been a huge fan of Enslaved since my early teens, and so that was quite fun to see one of us being a part of Enslaved at the point. And also Eva Sandøy, our producer for all of our 3 albums, City of the Sun, Contrapass on Summit Now. He also took over as the drummer of Enslaved like a year later or so. So, and of course Bergen, it's a black metal capital. You got Tåke as well on the Dark Essence Records, which is the sister record company of Charisma Records. And yeah, it's a good tradition here. And I think actually we try to capture some influence from that, like classic true Norwegian black metal soundscape in Summit as well, as a new color to bring into our music. So yeah. Absolutely, it's influential.
Yeah, and it's interesting. Over the years there have been, you guys have this jazz influence, and Benjamin plays saxophone. You've seen some of those influences start to creep into, some of the Norwegian metal bands, like, Isan has used a saxophone player. I believe Leprous has a saxophone player. Shining is doing a kind of black jazz metal kind of thing.
Yeah, it's kind of, I don't know if I would describe it as irony, but Shining, the band it is now, I would not say I'm a big fan of the music they're playing now, but before Black Jazz, they created 2 albums, which are called In the Kingdom of Kitsch, You Will Be a Monster, and Grindstone. No, not Grindstone. Is it Grindstone? Yeah, it's Grindstone. Yeah. Those albums were probably maybe the 2 albums that like connected this band, like Seven Impale, the most, because it's just like the perfect blend of insane jazz influence and metal influence and everything. And Jürgen Munkeby, who plays the saxophone both in Shining, and I think he used to play with Isan. I don't know if he does anymore, but he used to play with Isan. And he was, for me, he was a big inspiration of how to play like a metal saxophone, how to play the saxophone in a heavy band. And so it was like Black Jazz is a really cool album, and I like it. But the Grindstone, the album before, to me, it's like one of the best albums that's ever been made. So that was very much a big influence. And I think that Norway as well has sort of a big history of great saxophonists. And we had Jan Gabarek was one of the greats, like, I don't know, 10, 15 years ago. And now he's maybe like faded out. And now we have people like Marius Nese, which is an absolutely insane saxophone player who composes and writes music that's just out of this world. And he's also like a big influence on me, just to know that, yeah, he's insanely good. I'm never going to be that good because I don't have the determination to like practice as much as he does. And I don't know if I've even reached that level, even if I'd started practicing that much. But the saxophone has like been a big jazz instrument in Norway for a long time. And for me, it was just kind of random that I started playing the saxophone, really. But I started playing in a band as a singer originally, and then I went over to the saxophone, and then I sort of stuck with the saxophone and sing occasionally when needed, in my case at least.
So you said something very interesting, which is not just playing saxophone, but playing saxophone in the context of heavy music. I would like to speak about that in more depth when we speak about how you guys write songs. But for now, I was wondering, would you guys be able to tell me how the band came together and what your intentions were at the time?
I think Stian has to begin, since he was the beginning.
Yeah. Well, back in like 2009 or something, I was kind of looking for starting a new musical project, and my mind was set to kind of capture a bit of this like 70s heavy sound, like with like Hammond organ and stuff like that, like mostly particularly like going towards that Deep Purple sound, but also kind of capturing a bit more of that like newer metal kind of attitude and harshness, add that to it. And yeah, tried back and forth. I found a name of Seven Impale, just dropped into my head, and blah blah blah. And then me and Fredrik, we were a part of a big group of friends that went to Oslo in Norway to see the Mars Volta play live. And me and Fredrik, we knew each other from before, but we never played in any bands before. But then we just like really clicked on that experience of seeing Mars Volta live, and we were like, fuck, let's get together and do something crazy like this in a way. And then it kind of grew from there. Tried out different members. Fredrik, you started playing guitar first, I think. Yeah, Fredrik, he's also a magnificent guitar player, which is nice to have extra in the band. And then Tormod came along, the bass player now. He was starting out playing the cello first, and then the bass player we were trying. Well, it was a lot of trying out back and forth. And then, yeah, during 2010, we kind of found the band in a way, officially in a sense. Then all of the 6 members that are a part of Seven Impale today, it was also the 6 members of Seven Impale in 2010s. So, yeah.
So it sounds like you had an idea of wanting a band that was very open in terms of sound, but not necessarily a specific sound.
Yeah, of course, I think I had an idea of what I wanted to. It was more what kind of attitude towards writing music and performing music I was looking for, and I was curious about which kind of people I wanted wanted to bring along. It was more about the people I wanted to bring along, what kind of mindset and musicality they could bring on board. Of course, I knew from the beginning of that cello would be a difficult instrument to implement, especially when you're going live and you have an acoustic instrument together with like very, very, very loud amplified instruments. That would be, of course, a nightmare to work in a production with. But I think it was mostly finding the right people with the right mindset. Yeah.
And during those early meetings, those early rehearsals, at what point did you guys feel like you had found the sound that you were comfortable with?
I think we actually are somewhere between the first EP, which came out in 2013, which was kind of like halfway recorded during the writing process of City of the Sun as well, and the start of the band. To be honest, I think that the sound which is captured and that you guys can listen to, that really came along when we had kind of like a good bunch of songs, like combined the EP songs and the City of the Sun songs. Maybe saw kind of like what's the musical development, where are we, which direction are we pulling towards together. And especially when we also then started working with Eva Sunday, our producer, that then we really came to that idea of, okay, we are
clear memories of writing the first songs that ended up on the City of the Sun album. I think writing and rehearsing what became Extraction and God Left Us for a Black-Dressed Woman, I think that was when we kind of we had found the thing. Most of the songs on the EP were written during that process of finding the band members and getting everything together, and then maybe the last song on the EP I think we wrote as the current lineup. But going on from there, I think we found the sound mostly just because of the songwriting process, because in those the first two songs we wrote for the album has very clear kind of composition influence from all 6 members. So I think it was around that time. Probably around 2011, 12.
Yeah, and I also want to add on what Fredrik said about those 2 songs in particular, Extraction and God Left Us for a Black-Dressed Woman. I think also mentioning, the themes in the lyrics, I think we found that right hue of darkness in a way. And I think it also, if you look at the lyrics and stuff from Extraction and God Left Us for a Black-Dressed Woman, and you look at the lyrics also at Contrapasso and also at Summit, it has a very, it's dark. And I think that's also kind of should be mentioned as a part of our music. And going back to your first question, like describing what's the sound, what is Seven Impale, and I think we found that then.
to talk, to evolve to its future before it's done. Create more vital law, but it will be into it to hear, to believe it after it's done. Create more crucial, yes, it had to be done.
At what point in the writing process do the themes and the lyrics come in? Do you guys have a concept in mind before you approach a song, or does it develop as you're writing the song?
I think for us, it's always that the music comes first, and it was also interesting. We had some questions about like the cover art and how important the cover art is for an album, etc. And I think for our sake, being such a instrumental based band as we are, I think the lyrics are very much capturing the colors and the atmosphere of the music. And then, of course, we talk a lot about what kind of stories, what kind of concepts, what do we want to like base it around. And so it's kind of like the writing process of Seven Impale in general. I think it's a very long conversation between six of us, which is it's yeah. The lyrics are coming out of the music, to be specific.
That's a very interesting way to describe your songwriting process as well as your songs. A conversation between you as members, but also a conversation between the instruments, because, I would say, with some of the bands that we talked about in terms of, including saxophone or including, maybe some other instruments like cello or violins and stuff like that. For the most part, at least my, the kinds of bands that I listen to or would have on this podcast, it's still very much guitar-based music. Do you know what I mean? And I think with Seven Impale, I don't know if you can necessarily say, sometimes the guitars are very subdued and the saxophone acts like a lead guitar would in, a typical rock band. But sometimes, it's the vocals that take prominence, and, sometimes the keyboards come to the forefront. It really does feel like a conversation, like people taking turns speaking. Do you think that's a fair characterization?
Yeah, absolutely. I think, of course, we do have our, parts of songs where we're like, okay, now it's like, this is guitar music, this is riff music, this is just like, let's be a heavy band and just play. But mostly, I think it's about giving the tasks for the lines and the phrases to the right sounding instrument. And of course, a saxophone will always be a lead instrument. It will always cut through, and that's why, like, in terms of like classical music, it hasn't been written that much for classical as a classical instrument, as of course it's a much more modern instrument in that sense. But in a like timbre context of the orchestra, it cuts through, and you can't unhear the saxophone. So therefore, when the saxophone is playing, you will immediately hear that saxophone. But in the same sense, I think he's doing a really, really great job of finding the differences in from where he's like playing a lead, or if he's like just like a third guitar, or yeah. I think we're getting more and more as well, as composers, we do mature, and we listen to like a very, very, very vast, it's so much different music. And I think we write more in the sense of what a classical composer would do, like writing the structure, the melodies and the harmony, and then arranging thereafter to find the right balance of the colors of the different instruments we have. So yeah, that was a very long answer. But yeah, we agree to what you said.
Well, I think that's what I was looking for, which is, for music like Seven Impale, where the song structures are quite intricate and not conventional. Like, you guys aren't a verse, chorus, verse kind of band. My curiosity was, how do you approach writing this kind of music? And I think you answered it for me. You guys are actually very structured in terms of, as you said, composing the way a classical piece would be structured.
Yeah, especially if you look like, well, late romantics towards the modernist period of classical music, I think where you kind of breaking more free from like stricter forms. Where I think if you, for instance, like listen to the music of Richard Strauss and of course also late Richard Wagner, is that it's organic music, and it always develops in terms of what has been in the music before, and not like now we need to go into like a chorus or whatever. Like when we write music and we're like, we can't go into chorus now because it breaks from that organic way of our music. And of course, everyone has a different kind of conception of what organic music are, but we have
and also we base a lot of the at least early parts of the, let's call it the composing process, when we have a few parts, haven't really put anything together, we play a lot together, just exploring what kind of soundscapes does this theme or this melody or this riff, where can we take this? So I think we try to draw from the best of both worlds, considering composing very structured, complicated music, but also just in the hippie sense of Grateful Dead or whoever, just where does this take us naturally when we play this thing together? Where do we want to end up? As all 6 band members really have, we work in different ways, but everyone has kind of a compositional role in the band. So it's not, I can, as a drummer, can write a guitar part or have some idea for a saxophone part, but that goes both ways, and everyone has input on everyone's things, and we have this, it just boils down to a really good critical filter. If we find some arrangements that everyone feels works for the best, then that's how Seven Impale sounds like. Kind of everyone has the same, everyone hears things the same way, and this makes sense to me, and we take this part, it feels natural to move into this next part, and that might be a chorus, and that might be something more free jazz sounding nonsense. So it's the jamming things out and composing things very methodically, kind of trying to find a balance between those things.
I'm curious about your musical backgrounds, because we had a very very involved chat about composition, and obviously you guys have some kind of jazz background, But with the classical side of things, I mean, did you guys all go to music school? Do you guys all have some kind of classical training?
No, it's actually technically I think none of us have a jazz background. So the only jazz background we've had is that we've listened to a lot of jazz. But me and Fredrik, we started playing in our local school band. So when he started the school band, you can like apply to like you can choose your preferred instrument and stuff. And when he started, he wanted to play the saxophone. And then he was put on the drums. And then when I started 3 years later, because I'm 3 years younger than him, I wanted to play the drums and I was put on the saxophone. So that's like our origin. We're both playing in a school band. Stian started playing the guitar at home, but then he went to like music high school, I think. We have sort of a different school system, but I think it's
High School Musical.
yeah, he was on a High School Musical studying a course or something. And Erlend and Håkon also just play their instruments because their parents were into music pretty much. Håkon's father also played the organ, so that was like a natural thing for him to play the organ. And Erlend's father played the guitar, and Tormod, he started playing the cello because his mom made him, I guess. He didn't really want to practice, and he didn't really like it, but he liked the social part of it, so he stuck with it. And so the only one who has a music education of any kind is Stian, who went to a High School Musical line and then also started studying classical singing. So other than that, it's just practicing on our free time and otherwise doing what we like to do, which is just hanging out and playing video games, I guess.
We were speaking about the way you compose songs. I'm curious what that process actually entails. Do you guys sit around a laptop? Do you write things out on paper? You know, I spoke to a band who they have a whiteboard. Like they map out all the sections on a whiteboard and then they jam it out. And then depending on whether it sounds right to them, they'll change what they put up on the whiteboard.
Yeah, I mean it's kind of varied. We've done the whiteboard thing. I think we've done it a little bit. We did it. Yeah, in particular, it's the one part on Icaros, the one after the second, is it verse or chorus? No, that's the wrong song. Yeah, that part, we wrote it out on a whiteboard because it was too confusing, if not. So we wrote it out on a whiteboard and then we played it like 100 times to make it sound not terrible. And then then we learned it. But other than that, it's like there are some like exceptions on this album because both Hunter and Hydra were like mostly written before we rehearsed the songs as a whole. Because Hunter was like Stian's idea, his brainchild mostly. He wrote most parts and had an idea of what he wanted it to sound like and sort of told us what to play and how to do it and stuff. And Hydra was a sketch Fredrik made from ideas with some of them we've been jamming a bit on, but most of it was like he made up the riffs and the parts and he wrote a sketch and then we rehearsed it and probably tweaked it a little bit, but not very much. And then we recorded it. But other than that, and even up to this point on both City of the Sun and Contrapasso, it's been mostly like people come up with a riff and then we just jam on that riff for a little while and then maybe someone comes up with a melody that fits the riff, and if not, we're like this other melody that we played like 2 months ago, this kind of fits with this riff, and then we just blend everything together and try out stuff and sort of put the pieces together like experimentally. We just try things, and if it doesn't work, we try something else, and then we come up with a new part, or we modify the riff, or we modify the melody, and then we just try. It's almost like in like a computer science, you would call it like iterating through different versions. So that's in some ways that's what we do sometimes.
Just to add something to that, because it in a way it's interesting. Like my mind, after having like a classical music education, I often visualize and think music as it's written in like on notes, but the others, they kind of remember music more in like in bulks, in parts. So like I think our memory of music is kind of slightly different in a way. So but like using that oral tradition, you know, like learning out of like, it's never written down on paper or anything, just like parts, as you mentioned with the whiteboard, as we like do like 80-90% of the time in Seven Impale. I think that's a nice way to also give it that. It's kind of like a filter. If we can't remember the stuff, it probably wasn't that cool or that good. So keeping it like memory based, it's mostly memory based. I think that's a good way of like finding those gems of musical motifs and riffs and parts. Yeah.
But also just recording when jamming out ideas in rehearsals, especially when we don't have the time to rehearse every week, always. So just the thing you said about sitting in front of a computer and making sketches and demos. When I made what became the like blueprint for Hydra, it was, some of it were some ideas that I had recorded probably 5 years ago, and I had some recordings from things we had jammed out in rehearsals and ideas that the other guys had put into this idea that I had. So I kind of just sat down and filtered through the different material, the original idea that I had, as well as things that all the ideas that had come out of it, and I made a kind of, this is my proposition for the structure of this song. And then of course the whiteboard comes in very handy in terms of just, okay, we've played all the parts before, you know the stuff, but this is the structure of everything. So it's a kind of back and forth. I have this idea, I see what the other guys make of it, and then I put all of their ideas into kind of like Stian said, he thinks of things in a kind of more like in a classical performer sense of delivery, and I like things very structured, at least at some point, not necessarily when I play, but when we've reached a certain point in kind of jamming out all the ideas, then you have to filter through it and what does this actually mean? What are we supposed to play and when?
It should also be mentioned that the really hard part is naming all the parts. So you have like the jogging riff and the surfing organ and just like every sort of variety of names, just to like try to make people remember what the hell are we actually talking about right here. Because there's been a lot of names for parts that only we have like an association to. So a lot of creative names to make people remember what part are we actually talking about right now. So then it's always easy to say it's the kraut part. That's always nice, because if we have a kraut riff, everyone knows they just have to find one note. It has to be the right note. That's the hard part. But then you just have to go like that, and it's good.
Awesome. So at this point in the episode, listeners have heard you talk about a few songs on the new album and actually perform one a cappella. That's the kind of exclusive content that we bring on this podcast. But I think let's talk about Summit. This is the third Seven Impale album, and it was released at the end of May through Charisma Records. Fredrik, you mentioned, was it Hunter or was it Ikros that you started 5 years ago?
Hydra.
Oh, Hydra, sorry.
Parts of Hydra and also actually parts of Sisyphus is something I picked out from some really old demos, sketches that I made. Of course, also had forgotten that I ever made. But that was brought to the table of, the vault of 1 million things we could try to make something of.
And I should mention that it's been 7 years since your previous album, Contrapasso, came out. When did you guys actually start working on the music for this album, for Summit?
Stian moved back to Bergen right before the pandemic broke out, start of 2020. And I guess, maybe during 2021, the fall of 2021, maybe. I'm actually not sure.
Was it when we started writing it, or like producing it somehow?
No, when we kind of set our eyes on that.
Okay, Well, I think I sent a message to the guys, and I think it was late summer 2021. I was like, okay, it's time. Let's aim for recording a new album, and we all agreed that, well, it's time now. And we had material that we had played live, like Sisyphus was actually premiered like 80% how it was, no, 70-80% how it is now on record. We also played in Italy for the first time in 2018, and so we kind of had like that was kind of like a song that we were really like satisfied with, like, okay, this is good stuff. This is Seven Impale. This is Seven Impale music, and this is a good way to find a structure, find an idea, and a theme somehow for the next record. But then of course life happens, and you know I moved out of Bergen, and you know then time flies by. But yeah, summer 2021 we started like, okay, let's aim for the recording of the new album, and also kind of finishing material we had in the wank bank. You can call it that. You actually can't call it that, but in the, I would say, in the Dropbox. Oh, sorry. Yeah, we have a lot of fun together, so yeah, we had plenty of unfinished material to work with, so then you just have to like make a plan, and we started making that plan, and yeah.
So even though some of the songs like Sisyphus and parts of Hydra existed before you guys sat down and started working on the album, the actual planning for the album started in 2021.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
Then we contacted our producer to find like, okay, what's a good time to start recording, and just, you know, as an artist, you just have to create some framework for your work. If you have no framework, you know, you'll never finish anything off. So we just set like a date for the recording of the album, and that's our kind of like a deadline for finishing the album, because our plan is always to record it like live with everyone in studio except for the vocals. But it was postponed because I suddenly got some work in Germany for the first schedule, so we had to postpone it for like a half a year. But we were very like determined, like, okay, now we are going to record this album, so we're going to find dates to go in studio and do it. And from then it was just like, okay, let's work.
people hearing these song titles, Icarus, Sisyphus, Hydra, obviously there's a very strong connection to Greek mythology and classical Greek literature. Do you want to say anything about the concept of the album? Is there an overarching theme that ties all the songs together?
In a way, yes, but those Greek mythological names are just placeholders, as they are in a way. And, these stories are just placeholders for real human conditions and failures, whatever it is. And so the four songs on Summit are, in a way, you could say that we are describing, somehow criticizing, or philosophizing around the toxic masculinity or toxic human traits. Like in Hunter, that's the toxic human trait of violence and romanticizing violence. Hydra is about that human trait where you all the bad things happening to you, that's someone else's fault. You are creating enemies, and in the end you just like Hydra, you're cutting off one serpent head and 7 other coming up. You have to kind of like not blame others all the time, but look into yourself and like, what can I change? Not being that selfish in life. Icarus, of course, the son of Daedalus, that was flying too close to the sun and trying to reach a new height in life, fame perhaps, like how people are like trying to be something that they're not. And also kind of like Sisyphus in the same way, but Sisyphus is really, that's about capitalism in that sense. Like that eternal growth and always pushing the stone, and always like as it's in the lyrics as well, dividends and profits, I'm no liar. That's what he's Sisyphus, or the capitalist world, always looking for more. So in a sense, like they're just like placeholders for in a way for us to be more personal about perhaps our personal beliefs and personal political beliefs in a sense.
Yeah, and I think it sprung out of, using the Greek mythology symbols specifically was as random or not as when we wrote the last song in the album, or at least the first version of that, and played it in Italy in 2018. Stian wrote some lyrics, and we got on that. Yeah, the title of, or at least the theme of that song being Sisyphus was what set us onto that track. It wasn't really any plan other than Stian writing the Sisyphus thing, and then I caught on to that, and I wrote the lyrics for Icarus because I kind of like the Greek mythology symbolism as kind of a red thread through the whole thing, and I made some working titles for this album. We already have one song, it's probably 13 minutes, so we kind of aiming for these 4 songs. I made working titles for all of them, and then it was, we started out with Sisyphus and then Icarus, and then we just decided, okay, we can use this as a, like Stian said, placeholder, red thread, like a symbol through the album, keeping the keeping the Greek mythology stuff in the back of our heads, while of course not writing a prog album specifically about Greek mythology, because that would be way too prog for us. Yeah.
I mean, a 13-minute song with classical allusions. The first place my mind goes is Bruce Dickinson and Iron Maiden, right?
Yeah, exactly. So that since that's not really our thing, then we kind of thought a bit around that. Just it's always nice to have some kind of, at least a starting point for where we're going with this thematically. The lyrics, of course, like the words we use and everything, mostly representing the aesthetics of the music. As Stian said, a lot of the lyrics comes out of the music and the soundscapes that are already there. But which way we're going, it's always nice to just have a starting point and then kind of figuring out a concept without taking that concept way too literally.
So Summit was recorded at, is it Solslottet?
Yeah, or it was recorded in Dupa Studios.
I see, okay.
Almost connected. Our producer works a bit in both studios, and they're located about 10 meters away from each other. But it's a big recording space for the live parts, and then we finished all the vocals and the overdubs and everything in Solslottet. That is Ivar Sande's kind of personal studio for the smaller things and the extra stuff.
Gotcha. And you mentioned you've worked with Ivar throughout the years, and you mentioned, and what will be, I think, of particular interest to listeners of this podcast, is Ivar is the drummer for Enslaved. What does he bring to your sound, and what is it about working with him as a producer that you guys enjoy?
He's a very nice, very professional, and very strange guy. And that resonates very well with us, both musically and socially. And we've really loved this collaboration from the start, really. And the Enslaved link goes all the way back, because way before, I mean, in 2012, Ivar Persson, the lead guitarist and writer of mostly everything Enslaved, he was at the same concert that we got signed to Charisma Records. He was there as well, and right after our label representative got in touch with us and said that we need to talk about releasing your first album. We really want you in the Charisma roster. Then Ivar from Enslaved approached us and said that we should talk to this guy, Ivar Sandberg. Way before joining Enslaved as a drummer, he's co-produced a lot of the Enslaved stuff, and they know each other well and have worked closely together. And he was the one that tipped us off that this guy is going to kind of understand what you're going for, and that has worked really well. We've had a lot of discussions and very few kind of heated arguments, because we always want the same thing, and he has given us a lot of input concerning, like, he has showed us really, I mean, weird references for ideas that he's had, that bands we've never heard of, but we always kind of, okay, we know what you're getting at, and we agree. And just as when the six of us are writing music, when Ivar joins the gang in like the final stages, all ideas are up for grabs, and we're all kind of, if it works, we all agree that it works. So he's our seventh member, in some sense. That he understands where we're going with things, and we rarely disagree whether things are working out or not. I think it's a bit because of the curation of Ivar from Enslaved, just spotting that this guy is the guy for you. And other than that, I guess it's just a bit of luck that the first thing we tried showed to be this just works really well. And he's an excellent producer, like technically, but also he has all the right aesthetic, kind of inputs, and both things that he references that we know of, but also his side of things that we're not common with this. We don't know this thing he's referencing, but he's showing it to us, and we understand it. Yeah, okay, this might work. Contrapasso was a really revealing experience recording, because we had a lot less concise ideas about things. We went into the studio with a lot of open-ended stuff, and he really we worked everything out with him. So I think that's the album that is more than Summit or City of the Sun kind of written in collaboration with Ivar, as we're just recording stuff, trying stuff out, and getting the songs to work in some way. And that ended up being a 70-minute album. So there are pros and cons with that process, but it was really a learning experience.
And when we say Ivar produced the album, he didn't just record it, but he also mixed and mastered it. With all the different instruments that you guys are using, the process of mixing must be fairly complicated.
I think it's less complicated in the way we are recording, because I think we are recording in a very classical way of recording, because as earlier mentioned, we record the whole band live. So it's not like first doing the drum, having the drum sessions, and then like putting on bass and guitar and then building it. It's, it's the band in one room, and of course setting up the microphones correctly and like finding the mix kind of like before you record. So from there, it's just like minor tweaks in a way to make it work together. But I think in many ways, like how many newer metal bands, I think, in new like bedroom recordings, call it like that, with like programming and then doing in part for part, and then you suddenly have no like connection between the different recorded instruments. You don't have that common space where it sounds acoustically, which I think if you do that, like if you find a good recording space, you have enough lines, you have enough microphones, record as much as possible together, because then you have this mixing is about finding that common ground, common acoustic space, and then the more together context you can bring, it's easier to mix and then further on mastering. So I think, yeah.
And I think Ivar having the same aesthetic idea as us about the whole production, it kind of makes sense to him what we're trying to make, and that makes the mixing process, if not easy, then at least we're all in agreement on that, at least what the end result is supposed to sound like.
direction up is the one desire. Try hard, my heart. Dividends and profits, I'm no liar. Anything anyone have owned, anything, everything, I wish I won mine. Any day, any time, Sisyphus climbing.
So you guys actually recorded this album live.
Yeah. We did, like, with Sit Up the Sun, the first album, and Summit, we were all at work at the same time, playing at the same time, and mostly without any click, like metronome, because, you know, we want that organic feel to it, like, especially when the rhythms, the rhythmicality of our music is so, at times, so complex. It needs to be, it needs to swing in a way, you know. And when you have a metronome, you know, everyone is like relating to a metronome in a different way. But one thing that we know for sure is that we relate to each other in a natural, organic way, and therefore we're always aiming for doing that. And also, like, as explained in the question about like mixing and mastering, and like finding that like sound together. How does my guitar sound with the bass of tour mode? How does it sound with the keyboards, saxophone, and the drums, etc.? So it's a lot of benefits from like recording live, and it's also makes you really, you have to be prepared for the recording of your album, and it costs a lot of money to record an album. So in a way, that's the best way to save up some money. It's to be well prepared. So yeah, many benefits, but yeah, recording live as much as we can.
So lots of rehearsals, basically.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah.
I mean, the last time I recorded live was probably 20 years ago, and even recording like a 3-minute death metal song took, you know, all in 4/4 time, took probably an hour. For something like Sisyphus, how many takes did you guys have to do?
Oh, quite a bit. Oh, yeah. No, that's right. Actually, well, Summit, was it Sisyphus? No, Sisyphus, the long song. Well, 3 or 4 takes, I think, because Fredrik, he was actually quite ill that day. So it was like we had that day left in the studio. So we like, can you do a bit? And then let's just, fix it. But it's you do parts as well in a way. So, and then you pick and choose like best parts that like natural to be cut and pasted together. But for this album in particular, I think we were very, very well prepared motorically, technically. So we were quite flexible in studio. Yeah. Yeah, Hunter and Hydra, they were the took most time, but I think they are more at times much more complicated technically to play. I would say, yeah, the kind like they're the newest songs in a way, and of course Icarus being like the kind of like more just straightforward, heavy song in a way. So, yeah.
Interesting. Do you guys have any plans for the rest of the year, or maybe some festivals over the summer?
We'd hope to have a lot of plans, but the economic situation now after the pandemics in the like the live music context is here in Europe, it's really, really, really hard. The costs have like massively gone up, and also at the same time like currency balance like between Norwegian kroners and euros and all kinds of things that are making it quite difficult to make any plans. And also for us, we've been out of the live environment for quite a while now. So we were like, okay, let's get this album out, and then trying to see what kind of collaborations we can find and take it from there. But mostly it's economy that kind of like holds us back the most in terms of like live activity.
Gotcha. But it sounds like you guys really enjoy playing live, recording live, rehearsing. Yeah.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
Who would be your ideal touring partner?
That's not sure. Good question. Yeah, Tool and Tool, Mastodon, and Meshuggah. I think that would be quite a fun tour, at least, and we could be the like the odd cousin. Yeah. No, but I'm not sure. There's a lot of like cool bands on the Charisma roster. Cool bands on other this Apollon Records is also a Bergen-based record company, has also kind of a lot alternative proggy bands as well. That would be a good fit, and like a lot of them being great friends of ours. But like we could pick like from the top shelf and whatever. I'd love to tour with Mastodon. I think that would be really cool. And I think we have that kind of like, we want to be a heavy band in a way, and like touring with a very, very prog band. I think that will like dictate a lot of the audience. But I think we will feel much more freer if we like on a heavy tour. It was really fun. We like back in 2015. We were on a short Europe tour with Octus, Vulture Industries, and Kakov. That was I think musically that was a really nice tour. I think that was like a 4-band package that was like heavy, weird, and yeah, just musically very, very, very creative and fun.
Yeah.
But also touring wise, I think I'd really like to tour with some fun guys. At least if it's more than like 4 days, it would be nice to have someone to actually connect with and hang out with and think Mastodon would be really fun because we're kind of, we're not that far apart musically, at least on the heavy side, and then we have some other weird stuff. So we could market it as the Jazztodon tour. Because we love this heavy stuff, vocal harmonies, and Mastodon can be pretty proggy as well. So I think something like that could be really fun. But of course, not touring with a huge, famous metal band just for the kind of exposure. Could go both ways, both because, I mean, the fan bases are too different, and depending on how the people are being on tour with and how we kind of fit into the whole, the package. So apart from just, as Stian said, touring with bands from Bergen, people we like hanging out with, and fit, that is a good fit musically as well.
Yeah, this is a similar question, but I was thinking about like all the different elements that you guys bring together in your music, and also your musical backgrounds, your respective musical backgrounds. Is there a band or a couple bands that all of you guys agree on?
Yeah, I think there are lots of bands we all agree on. Really, we have the everyone kind of listens to a lot of different music. So I think it's a lot of bands in a lot of different genres that fall within that segment.
But now I'm going to name some in particular. No, there's, like Fredrik said, it's a lot of different, but Jazzy, Norwegian like prog, post-rock, jazz band, something. Absolutely amazing band. They have so many records that are absolutely amazing, like What We Must and One Arm Bandit and The Sticks, and they have so many good albums. Shining's 2 albums in particular, like In the Kingdom of Kitsch and Grindstone, absolutely amazing. We love like Mastodon, Enslaved, Meshuggah, Mars Volta, Gojira, and then of course there are like jazz bands like the saxophonist I named like a while ago, Marius Nese, and his Golden Explosion album, his Birds album. There's a lot of albums that we've listened to together and just go like, that's fucking amazing. And John Hopkins, EDM producer, has his Singularity album, is incredible. And so there's a lot of albums we've listened to together and just looked at each other and nodded approvingly and just went like, this is really good.
Very cool. So Summit is out now through Charisma Records. Guys, how can people order the album? What's the best way to get it?
You can order it through Charisma Records website. They're a really nice bunch. They'll ship it to you as soon as they can. You can also order it through Bandcamp. There's probably a bunch of other sites where you can order it, but Bandcamp and Charisma are the best ones to make sure as much as possible of the money gets to us.
I think that's our official.
And then that's our tips.
Now, is Charisma doing a special vinyl version for this?
I mean, it's a special vinyl version if you consider the vinyl in particular special. But they have right now we just have one vinyl version. I mean, next year it's going to be 10 years since our first album, so maybe we make some special vinyls next year. But I would recommend just getting it now. It looks like a regular vinyl, but it sounds really good. I'd recommend that one right now.
Very cool. And if people want to follow Seven Impale online,
we have pretty much every social media. Instagram is probably one of the ones we're most active on, Instagram and Facebook. We also have a Twitter account for those people who prefer Twitter, but it's not necessarily as active, but we try to like keep up there. But Instagram and Facebook are the most active. We also have a website, sevenimpale.com. Yeah, we also have a YouTube channel, and we're like in a process. We're trying to make the YouTube channel more active. We've had it for like 1 billion years, but we're going to try to like maybe do some live streams and make some content on there so people can watch us play, watch us hang out, watch us do stuff, basically. So
really music nerdy stuff.
Yeah.
For all the people.
Yeah. If you love counting, that's probably the place for you. And yeah, so that's it. I think that's it. We don't have a LinkedIn or like yeah.
No TikTok?
Yeah. We don't have Google Plus, and we don't have TikTok.
Yeah.
But apart from that, we're really on the. You asked us about our plans for this year and for the next step. We are really keen on getting out there, playing live, and yeah, we just have to see what we can manage and what kind of makes sense financially. But people have tips about local bands that need really weird jazzy heavy prog to collaborate with, or booking agencies, or just local bookers. Everything's on the table for us. We're just to kind of expand our network, especially outside of Norway, to find kind of manageable touring possibilities.
So you guys have been very generous with your time, but is there anything else you want to say?
It's very warm in Bergen right now, so we're and we closed the doors to get rid of the noise, so we're kind of warm now. But I don't think we have anything more to say other than, I mean, yeah, listen to the album. It's pretty great. It's if you haven't heard us before, I can guarantee you it's not what you think it is.
Very cool. Talk to Mucus. No?
And also, we love all, and life's hard, and rock.
Yeah.
Cool. Thanks, guys.
Your mind is still your own. You gave it away for nothing, as if you thought you were the main act of this show. it's only raining.